As the world watches, Donald Trump is once again preparing to dominate the global stage, this time through the unleashing of his Liberation Day tariffs. What he calls an economic remedy is more likely to be a seismic shockwave that will leave markets reeling and consumers facing a severe blow. Trump's impending trade war with the United Kingdom is set to be a test of both his willingness to wield power and the UK's resolve in protecting its national interests. The response from the UK government under Sir Keir Starmer, who now stands at the helm of the nation's leadership, will be crucial in shaping the future of this fraught relationship. But let's not fool ourselves. Starmer's scrambling to appease the White House isn't just a diplomatic dance. It's a political compromise that risks costing the UK dearly. Trump's stance is clear. The United States has long been taken advantage of in trade negotiations. According to his administration's rhetoric, foreign markets remain closed to American goods, while the US has been forced to accept unfair trade practices, leading to a trade deficit that, in Trump's words, has gutted out industries and hollowed out key workforces. These issues are being framed as nothing short of a national crisis, and Trump is positioning himself as the man who will restore America to its former economic glory, by any means necessary. The concept of Liberation Day is undoubtedly provocative. But beneath the bravado and the inflammatory rhetoric lies a calculated strategy to impose tariffs on a host of nations, with the UK high on the list. The proposed tariffs are not just a lever to extract better deals from foreign nations, but a blunt instrument to assert dominance. Markets do not react kindly to uncertainty, and the reverberations of Trump's tariffs will ripple far beyond the corporate boardrooms and trade talks of the US and the UK. British consumers will feel the sting, as prices rise and the cost of living escalates. Industries that rely on imports and exports will be battered by the trade restrictions, compounding the damage done by an already precarious economic recovery. Yet, in what can only be described as a desperate act of political capitulation, Starmer's government is already signaling a willingness to give up ground. Downing Street, keen on avoiding a full-scale trade war, has put the digital services tax on the table and appears ready to concede on US agricultural exports. If this sounds like a bad deal for the UK, that's because it is. The idea of relinquishing access to the digital services market and lowering tariffs on chicken, beef, and other American exports is nothing short of economic surrender. These are not the concessions of a strong government, but the retreat of one that is terrified of Trump's economic firestorm. Starmer, however, is not entirely wrong to fear the fallout. The National Farmers Union has been vocal in its objections, warning that compromising on agricultural imports would be disastrous. And they are right. Agriculture is a sensitive issue, one that touches the very heart of national identity and sovereignty. Any deal that reduces access to the UK market for its own farmers while offering little in return is a recipe for disaster. It is one thing to seek a trade agreement with the US, but it is entirely another to sacrifice domestic industries for a deal that favors a foreign power's interests. Yet, while Starmer treads carefully, the government must not overlook the strategic necessity of protecting British industries. The NFU's stance is clear: any concession must be reciprocal. If the US gains unfettered access to British markets, then the UK must receive the same access to American markets in return. To do anything else would be to undermine the very principle of fair trade, which must be the foundation of any deal with Trump. If this is a fight worth having, it's a fight worth winning. The UK cannot afford to be pushed around by Trump's blustering policies. This brings us to the broader implications of Starmer's negotiations. With Trump's unyielding focus on what he terms the wrongs of the past, the UK cannot afford to bow to every demand, no matter how loudly the White House pressures. The economic fallout from a trade war is immense, but so too are the long-term political consequences. If Starmer accepts too many compromises, especially those that undermine British agricultural interests, he risks inciting protests not just from farmers but from the broader electorate. Rachel Reeves' inheritance tax proposals have already sparked widespread unrest. If Starmer now folds to Trump on agriculture, that unrest will only intensify. Trump's desire to dominate international trade is undeterred, and this latest salvo of tariffs is just one part of his broader strategy to reshape the global economy in America's favor. For all the promises of Make America Wealthy Again, this is an agenda that risks leaving other nations, including the UK, economically battered and politically subjugated. Starmer's challenge, then, is not simply to negotiate with the US but to defend the UK's interests in the face of a political machine that is only interested in its own advantage. If he succumbs to Trump's demands, the consequences will be profound. not only for the British economy but for the future of the UK's sovereignty in a world that is fast becoming more fragmented and unpredictable. Starmer must stand firm, reject undue compromises, and ensure that any trade agreement with the US is truly beneficial for the UK. To do otherwise would be to accept a future where Britain's national interests are no longer safeguarded. This is the moment for true leadership, and it is a moment that Sir Keir Starmer cannot afford to squander.